Britain on the brink of a recession as deep as the 90s and as long as the 2008 financial crash.
The British pound has fallen to its lowest level ever against the US dollar.
The City of London woke up to a currency crisis.
Britain's economic prospects have soured significantly in just a few short days.
It's safe to say that England has had a year from hell this year. Just recently, we saw that the UK's annual inflation rose the most in 41 years. We have had an energy crisis, a new Prime Minister, and the pound, which has crashed to its worst state in nearly 40 years. Now, many analysts and banks are forecasting a very, very long recession for the UK. Recently, the Bank of England warned of a recession lasting well into 2024. The pound has been the worst performer versus the dollar out of the major currencies around the world by some margin this year. Effectively, the pound sterling is trapped in a doom loop caused by inflated energy prices that feeds into weaker economic growth and lower currency values. It's now a question at different businesses around the UK, from big banks to small startup businesses: could you pay me in dollars instead of pounds? It's not an uncommon discussion around the board for expats at the moment in the UK, regardless of whether they are American or not. Some are American expats with debts back home that appear to grow when they've converted into the slumping pound. Others are British staff at US headquartered firms who feel that they're losing ground against the dollar-compensated American co-workers. It's not just the slumping currency, which has brought much pain to Britain. 40-year high inflation is putting huge pressure on the average UK family. Grocery price inflation hit 14.7% in the month of October. The jump in prices mean the average annual shop is set to rise by £682. More than 1/4 of households said that they're struggling financially. This is double as much as a year earlier, and the vast majority said that higher prices on food and drinks was the biggest worry. People are turning to more cheaper brand labels. Sales of the cheapest own label ranges across UK grocers are up 42%. Bloomberg's monthly breakfast index showed that the cost of basic ingredients have all increased significantly from a year prior, with milk jumping up 51% and butter by 31%. This graph shows the magnitude of how much the simple UK breakfast has increased for families compared to a year ago. The average price of a full breakfast has jumped 19.5% from a year ago. The total cost to buy all the ingredients needed has risen to £32.98 compared to £28.42 a year earlier. And it doesn't look like any prices are going to be coming down anytime soon. Unfortunately, there are a few signs that the cost of living crisis will abate anytime soon, said Helen Dickinson, Chief Executive at the British Retail Consortium. It's so bad that recently the Bank of England Governor warned of the coming consequences.
Governor Andrew Bailey has warned that a surge in food costs could have apocalyptic consequences.
I'm afraid the one that I am going to sound, I guess, rather apocalyptic about is food. I have to tell you that, I think this is a big concern.
Just recently, UK food inflation hit a new record in November as the costs of meat, eggs and milk soared according to new sector data, suggesting a very bleak winter for millions of households. Figures and reports suggest that the 45-year high in food price inflation reported by the Office for National Statistics for October will accelerate. This will amount to a further squeeze for households, particularly poorer ones, because they spend on average a larger portion of their finances on food and energy. In the first half of November, more than 2 in 5 people had to cut back on food shopping and essentials because of the surging living costs. 2022 has been dominated by a cost of living crisis, and the figures are staggering. Inflation is running at a double-digit pace, the highest in 40 years, and far outpacing wage growth. Food prices are up almost 20%. The cost of heating a typical home has jumped more than 150%. And in time for Christmas, many families are being forced to cut back. As you can see in the graph, the average cost for a family at Christmas has increased dramatically, with turkey increasing 61% from the year before. In total, UK households may reduce their holiday spending by more than $5 billion, according to a survey published this week by price comparison website or Switch. As the inflation crisis has mounted, food banks and frontline services have seen demand surge, with some at risk of collapse under the weight. Many are already looking ahead to 2023 to work out how to handle the sheer volumes of people. Also, more than 3 million low-income UK households cannot afford to heat their homes this winter. More than 7 million households have gone without at least one of the essentials since June. About 2.4 million households have borrowed money or used credit to cover their bills so far this year. It's going to be a tough winter for many British people. As of September 2022, some UK civilians are forced to choose between heat and food. Since the previous year, energy caps continually rose, with future prices predicted to reach an increase of 80%. Average UK household faces paying £2,500 every year for the next 2 years, up from £1,400 in October 2021. That's even after a cap on consumer energy bills, which was imposed by the government in early September. The boss of gas and electricity supplier OVO Energy even went to say that we need a vaccination-style effort to address surging energy prices and prevent future energy crises from happening. Winter is here. Just recently, overnight temperatures dipped as low as minus 8.9 degrees Celsius. UK businesses expect energy costs to more than double next year when a government support package comes to an end. Next, the UK property market could be on the verge of a major crash, with some market watchers watching for a collapse in prices of up to 30%. New home buyer inquiries plunged in October to their lowest levels since the 2008 financial crash. An investment bank now sees UK property prices declining by around 10% by the second quarter of 2023. Soaring rents have, in effect, made life unaffordable for private tenants across much of the UK. The analysis shows that asking rent on new listings are up almost a third since 2019, and some people are facing increases of up to 60%. The London Renters Union said its members had reported average rent increases of almost £3,400 a year, which is 21% increase. 1 in 5 households in England rent their home, and costs have increased rapidly in recent months as the Bank of England has increased interest rates. In June across the UK, average advertised rents were 5% higher than 12 months earlier, but by October they were 12% higher from the year prior. Almost 1 million private renters are at risk of being kicked out of their homes this winter, and more will follow, said Polly Neat, the chief executive of Shelter. Just over 500,000 private renters had received or been threatened with an eviction notice in the last month, up 80% on the same period last year, and that 482,000 were behind on their rent. Britain is in stagflation with rocketing inflation and negative growth. Some are saying that the UK has already fallen into a short and shallow recession that will leave business investment 9% below 2019 levels. It is expected that the UK will suffer the second worst recession of any major economy after Germany. As you can see with this graph, the UK is still behind when compared to other G7 countries.
I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
She's out as leader, finished as Prime Minister of America's closest ally.
The UK has a new Prime Minister. I pledge that I will serve you with integrity and humility, and I will work day in, day out to deliver for the British people.
It's been a chaotic year for Britain's Prime Ministers, with Liz Truss only lasting 45 days after taking the helm from Boris Johnson. And now Rishi Sunak just took over to become the new Prime Minister and faces a UK brewing with many economic problems. There's a brewing recession, soaring energy prices, increased rent prices and inflation just running at more than 10%. Liz Truss made a huge error in announcing a huge £100 billion welfare program in conjunction with $45 billion of tax cuts. This has raised a question as to whether Sunak faces an impossible task as being Prime Minister of a nation state that is in economic freefall. As 2023 approaches, Britain's economy is on course to shrink 0.4% next year as inflation remains high and companies put investment on hold. There's reports that unemployment is expected to rise to peak at 5% in late 2023 and early 2024, up from 3.6% currently. British inflation hit a 41-year high of 11.1% in October, putting millions of people at extreme risk. As the British economy is in freefall, many are saying that we are approaching a lost decade for the United Kingdom.